Well, good evening, folks. Randy McKee again here with Soccer 605. We're wrapping up Friday's action at the state tournament and getting ready for Championship Saturday. As you can see, we have Coach Charlie Lamb with us, and again, Coach Derry. One of the things that we wanted to do this year is bring some additional analysis to you. So earlier today, we had a player do some analysis for you. Christian Whitesell, a Rapid City Stevens player, was on site. And let's just go to his report for you right now. Randy McKee here with Christian Whitesell, a Rapid City Stevens player who unfortunately is not participating in the tournament this week. But Christian has agreed to help us out a little bit here and kind of give us a little analysis. You know, really, when you look at the AA boys division, probably nobody knows what's going on out there on the fields better than Christian does. He's played against every one of these guys this year. So, Christian, what do you think about what you're seeing so far in watching the games?
I just watched the Pier Watertown game, and it was a really good match, really even, especially at the beginning. A lot of blows going at each other, and then the ball got through the Watertown defense, and Pier took advantage, and it was honestly one of the most even games I've seen all season. And a big penalty, a big turning point was when Jordan Feige of Watertown got red carded, and Pier took advantage, and Chaz Williams put the ball in the net, and then everything was pretty even for a while in the second half. An own goal on Pier kind of put them on their heels, and it went downhill for them on that. I thought, could have swore Watertown was going to come back. They had that mindset, but the clock beat them.
You know, and when you're playing a man down, and you know, Pier, I mean, it was very obvious in what I watched in the game. Both teams still have something to play for, you know, and that they want to get that consolation trophy, and that's just the kind of game it was. They tied earlier in the year, but you know, every time Watertown and Pier play each other, it is a very physical, tough contest.
Oh yeah, they're big teams, and they go at it 90 minutes hard. They don't give up. They want it, but Pier wanted it more, I guess.
You know, Stevens this year played, you know, a lot of games, you know, tied quite a few games. Unfortunately, didn't win any, but you were in every game you're in. I mean, all the coaches I talked to about your program, they've all said, man, they're way better than the record shows. But they're just that one little thing, you know, that one little moment in the game where the ball might go in the onion bag, but it just don't.
They were calling us the 99-cent team. We had all the way up, but we weren't that dollar yet. And I thought it was all going to come together in the playoff game. I was hoping, but we were on our heels, and we were too confident going in, and Pier got us. But we were just missing something. We had that mindset, but nothing clicked, I guess.
Well, now we're heading into the AA boys semis. We have two games left in this championship bracket today, and you know, we're just looking over here across the way here at Spearfish in Washington warming up. I mean, you asked me before, you know, who do I think is going to win, but you know, I should be asking you because you played both these teams. You know, they both have good qualities. What do you think might happen there?
Spearfish. I mean, they set that bar high yesterday when they won 6-0 over Brookings. I mean, those boys are playing well with each other, and they're just clicking. They're playing as a unit. So I have Spearfish going on top of the whole tournament, honestly. I mean, those guys got something going for them, and they have that mindset that they're going to win already. So I think things are going definitely for them.
Yeah, they aren't here to play trucks and soldiers. They're here to win a soccer tournament. I just was over there talking with both teams, and I mean, they were very, very serious coming in there. Well, let's move on then and talk a little bit about on the AA boys, Lincoln and Yankton. You know, Yankton has turned out a really strong soccer team this year.
Yeah, when I was playing Yankton earlier this season, we've usually cleaned up on them pretty good in the past, and then we come out there and they're physical, they're fast, they play well with each other, and they're just an all-around team. They're clicking, but I honestly think that they're going to win this semifinal, and then they're going to give Spearfish a run for their money in the finals.
You know, Yankton had trouble with Spearfish earlier, and I just think that the two styles are they're not really contrasting. They can play the same kind of soccer. Just that, you know, just about everybody, with the exception of Washington earlier this year when Washington won over in Spearfish, just about everybody has been given a lot of trouble by Spearfish.
Yeah, they're playing well. They go 90 minutes, and this is their year. They want it all. I play with club with a lot of the guys, and all they've been hazing me about all year is how they're going to win state. So they have that mindset, and they're going to make it, I think.
Well, that's one of the most important things you can do is have that belief. Well, you're going to come back and spend some time with us tomorrow, and I really appreciate you coming today. Your insight is better than anybody we could talk to out here, at least from an analyst point of view. But you've played the last year of high school soccer, but you aren't done playing soccer yet. I mean, you still got a good year coming up at club, and I'm sure you're looking at some schools. I talked to a couple college coaches actually today who said they've been talking to you. What are you thinking there?
I kind of want to go to Colorado, I think, be close to my sister because I've always been close to her, and I love the mountains there. And so I'm going to try to go over in there, maybe in Denver Metro or something. But I'm just taking it slow and keeping my options open, and if something comes up, I just need to find that college that fits me perfectly.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's a lot of teams that will fit you perfectly. You know how to play, and you've developed a great reputation over your high school career. I remember when I coached at Stevens High, you were one of those special eighth graders I brought up, and with the full approval of everybody. So, I for one am very proud of what you've accomplished, and you ain't done yet. We're going to enjoy following your career on out.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Christian Whitesell, Rapid City Stevens Senior. Okay, back to what happened today, and. Coach Charlie Lamb here took a look at all the AA girls today. Charlie is the head coach over at Spearfish, and unfortunately he's not here coaching, but he still is going to give us some contribution in terms of analysis. So Charlie, why don't you let us know what you saw here today?
Well, there was 4 tough games here today, starting off with Central against Yankton. And I think Central was just a really physical team that had too much for Yankton to handle. Central beat them 3-0 and really overpowered Yankton, I think, especially in the second half. The upside for Yankton is it looked like they had a lot of young kids who really will benefit from this experience.
Well, and you're right, Yankton does have a pretty young team, and Coach Lacombe has a lot of those younger girls he's been taking around the tournaments in the summer. So I really do think that this whole experience will be a positive thing. Well, how about Sioux Falls, Washington, Brandon Valley? Now, that's a couple teams you know quite a bit about.
Yeah, we've played each of them a couple of times, and that was an amazing game because Brandon Valley got a goal on a beautiful play against the run-up play, and it was a pretty goal into the side netting from outside. And then they just weathered the storm after that. And they've got some real athletic kids in the midfield who do real well contacting the ball, getting it out of there, and they just hung on. And Washington was pushing, it felt like the whole second half, and just couldn't get an equalizer.
And both very good teams, but we discussed last night a little bit about how much improved Brandon Valley is this year, and boy, just kudos out to them. The girls are excited, they're believing, and they're playing like that.
And they have a hard time scoring goals, but through the middle third of the field, they play as well as anybody.
And today they did enough.
Yeah, they did.
So how about now in the top part of the bracket? We were really looking forward to these games because Pierre has just been on a roll. I mean, a tough, hard, physical group of girls. Roosevelt's a little bit more of a possession finesse type team. A good clash in matchups there.
And it held true to form too. I think that Pierre is always really physical and can score goals at any time. And Roosevelt really develops play, much more controlled and possessing. And they did that today, and they got out ahead of Pierre, and I thought that the tables might turn in the second half, but then Roosevelt just kept up playing the ball around the field, and I thought that Pierre looked a little tired near the end because they always had to chase Roosevelt's play.
They came in off that double overtime they had to play yesterday. So, Coach Derry was there calling the game for KCCR. I'm sure you probably saw the game the same exact way as Coach Lamb.
I did, and it's unfortunate for the Pierre girls. They've been on a good roll, and I think Roosevelt had the run of play for most of the game, and creativity-wise, I said it on the radio for KCCR a couple of times. You were seeing an organized defensive effort by Pierre versus a very creative Roosevelt attack.
Yeah.
And today, the organized defense broke down a couple of times, and the creative attack capitalized on it, and good teams do that. And you got a couple players on Roosevelt. Nicole Hatcher, she was out there. I figured Anna Bondi would shine a little bit today, and she had moments. But Nicole Hatcher came through and did what she does. She scores goals. She's creative. She's attack oriented, and she's got a nose for the goal, and that's what happened. And I thought the creative attack beat out the organized defense.
Yeah, and speaking of Nicole, I mean, she has to be one of the best players in the state, if not the best. And I mean, even last year as a sophomore was the leading goal scorer in Roosevelt. A very good team last year.
And that's what I saw. I mean, that's what I was expecting between her and Anna Bondi. I think the two of them. I think in anybody's mind, you can argue about it, but I think they're two of the best players in the state. And Nicole today got the better of the run.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see who is, because we're going to announce here in the next week or so the Soccer 605 Elite 11, and we've got input coming in from all the coaches all over the state. We're going to name the best 11 players in each class, and I guarantee you her name is going to be mentioned in there at least. Okay, now on to the last match of the day then. Kind of a rematch of an earlier game where Lincoln got one over on Stevens, and I'm sure Stevens wanted a little bit of retaliation on that today.
I thought, and speaking of top players in the state, it was a pleasure to watch Nicole and Anna. It was a pleasure to watch Darby again, Huguenin for Lincoln. She just does a lot of things very, very subtly. She holds the ball, she makes the right passes, she moves it away from pressure, and she and Lincoln got an early goal on Stevens. Actually, Raven scored down the flank, went in and hit a beautiful left-footed shot past the keeper into the side netting, and Lincoln had to make it stand up for probably 60 minutes, I don't know. The second half, they were hanging on by their fingernails because Stevens really put up the pressure, and they had the sun at their back, the wind at their back. There were a lot of Rapid City fans out here, and it was really fun to watch. I mean, Lincoln's keeper had to come up with some great plays at point-blank range, and every one of the girls on Lincoln was determined not to let people beat them. They were running all over the field. It was a great match.
I talked with Coach Burkhalter before the season started, and he just was, at that point, he was just unsure of what he had, Still a very young team. I mean, their starting keeper's a sophomore, but she started all year as a freshman, did a very good job. He just didn't really know what he was going to have, but boy, they have really pulled some nice stuff together there at Lincoln this year.
And they go to work. They go to work and they do their job. And there's nothing flashy about them. They don't possess as much as Roosevelt. They don't have the speed of Stevens or the power that Pierre has, but every day they show up and they do their job, and it's really fun to watch them get a little piece of a game and then hold on to it.
Yeah. Well, so tomorrow we end up with Yankton against Sioux Falls, Washington, Rapid City Central against Brandon Valley, Pierre against Stevens, and then in the title match, Roosevelt against Lincoln. Four games that should be fun to watch. So
and I think you're going down that list there: Roosevelt versus Lincoln, 1 versus 2; Stevens versus Pierre, 3 versus 4.
Yep.
I mean, it's playing out like the rankings came out, and I think it's. I'm going to guess you're going to see a lot of 1-goal games tomorrow, and you're probably going to see a couple overtimes.
Yeah, you probably could. We've got some good shootouts already this year, and going to be some more, I'm sure.
And everybody held true to form except Brandon Valley. So go Brandon Valley. That's their first win. That was their first win today in the tournament ever, and so they're just tickled.
They're believers. I talked to some of those girls today, and they're just having a lot of fun. So, well, let's move on then to the A boys. We like we promised yesterday, we paid a little more attention to A today because the full A tournament's on. Early we got to watch Belfouche and Hot Springs, and man, what a great match. It was, Hot Springs scored first, Belfouche equalized. They just had a dogfight for a half.
Yeah.
Because Bell equalized like in the last moment of the first half.
Yep.
So they fought the whole entire second half, didn't score, go into overtime, boom, Belfouche gets 2 goals right away, and then they score another goal in the second overtime period, so they end up winning 4-1. Both teams generated lots of chances. It just that bells seemed to drop in the overtime.
And they did, and it was a dogfight's a great way of putting it. It was a dogfight. There was a lot of physical play out there. It was back and forth, fast. Kids were passionate. They were playing with their hearts on their sleeve. I mean, nothing more you could ask for out of a game. And it gets to overtime, and hey, the goal opened up for Bell. Yep. And Hot Springs, give them credit. They fought. And until the final whistle blew, they fought. And just like we saw them yesterday, and my hat's off to that coaching staff when they played Vermilion. They were down a lot, and they fought to the very end and got a couple goals there at the end because they never stopped fighting. And that's a credit to the coaching staff, the players, and the parents.
Yeah, and those kids just play for each other. And I can't say enough about there's times literally during the game where half the field players are girls, but you wouldn't know it. I mean, those girls they play hard, they try hard, they're smart.
They stick their nose in there.
Yeah, they're just fun to watch, and they haven't had a lot of W's this year, but they have registered a lot of success with that team. So congratulations to
in my mind, the one thing they did earn was a big R, respect.
Yeah, big time.
They fought, and that's what you love to see out of a soccer team, is that regardless of the score, they get in there and they fight.
Yeah. Well, on to the next consolation round match. Then T took on Custer, and T, and even talking with some of the other coaches that are in the championship round, they're just a big, muscular, strong, coming at you kind of team, and that's the same thing. I mean, they just out-muscled Custer today everywhere on the ball, so they end up winning, and of course. This game was no exception to that big muscular game that T played.
No, it wasn't, and it starts, I think, with one of their captains, Cooper Hansen, who's as physical as they come out there. He puts his body out there on the line, and he doesn't have a problem weighing in and doing what he can out there. So I enjoyed watching them play yesterday when they played Huron, and quite truthfully, I got to tell you, it was fun to watch the whole team out there. I mean, Tyler Weavick, Jacob, I can't think of Jacob's last name, I'm sorry, Cooper Hansen. I mean, there was several of them out there that had good games again today.
Yeah, and very well coached by Amber Bryden. She, one of the few women I know who can grab a bunch of teenage boys and straighten them out in 7 minutes. That's Amber. Okay, the first semi then. What a great game. Harrisburg against Huron up in the stadium. Harrisburg they didn't luck out. They earned the goal they got. But, man, Huron just came at him. And, this is my first chance to really watch Huron closely.
Got to see Dada up front.
Well, what great balance. They got those big, strong defensive guys in the back and the really skilled guys in the middle and up top. It's just, boy, I'll tell you, a well-put-together team. Coach Casperson, just couldn't be happier than what they accomplished here this week.
Yeah, and I only got to see part of the match, but I watched them play against T yesterday, and the kids that they got up front that, and I apologize to the viewers if I say his name wrong, but Dada is what I've understood his name, how you say it, and tell you what, the kid is. You don't think he's got that much bark in him, but boy, I tell you what, he sticks his nose in there, and if he's got a chance at a ball, he's going to sniff it out and put it on frame, and you better pay attention. Well,
today Dada was wow. Those guys, I was really impressed, and talking to Nick Stebbins, the Harrisburg coach, afterwards, going, wow, man. We coming in here, I thought, well, I'd way rather have Huron than T because T is such a big, muscular team, but they had to scratch and claw their way into that championship game tomorrow. It went the full 80.
Yeah, and that's what you want to see out of a semifinal match. You don't want to see any blowouts. You don't want to see one team dominate. You want to see kids get out there and duel it out, and Huron did. And gave Harrisburg everything they could handle, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with Harrisburg. I saw Bryn Ratcliffe for Harrisburg is gimped up a little bit. Looks like he has an ankle injury, and we'll see if he can go tomorrow. That can be a big thing for Harrisburg.
I saw them bring Bryn into the trainer today, and they had his knee all wrapped up, in ice. So,
okay, knee, I'm sorry.
The thing about it, though, the kid they put in at keeper did a beautiful job in Bryn's absence. So, they've got, they have somebody to put in there who's competent.
Good.
Okay, finally, the last semi, Vermilion against Sturgis. Vermilion did their typical, we're going to just kill you with our speed, and tough defending, and that's exactly what happened. And late in the game, Coach Nelson was, subbing some kids in, and so I think that will have a bearing in tomorrow's championship match with Harrisburg, because Harrisburg had to fight, scratch, and claw. They didn't have to play the overtime periods, but everything else about that game was stressful and very difficult. They had to earn their way in. So we'll see how Coach Stebbins responds to that, and it should be one tremendous game, because Harrisburg wants Vermilion bad again. It was a close match earlier this year, and that's going to be probably one of the best games tomorrow to watch.
And then talking to Brandon and a couple of the other Harrisburg boys, that's what they said too. They were looking forward. They hoped they got past Huron today, and they hoped Vermilion, they could get another shot at Vermilion, and they're going to get it.
I would think that asking for Vermilion would be kind of like a dog chasing a car. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when you get a hold of that thing? But Harrisburg has a very competent team. They're very well coached. Same with Vermilion. That is going to be a good game. So tomorrow, here's what we're looking at in A boys. For 7th, Hot Springs will be going against Custer. That's going to be an entertaining match. For the consolation championship, it'll be Belfouche against T. For the 3rd place match, it'll be Huron against Sturgis, and then for the trophy bout, Vermilion against Harrisburg. Just a lot of good games there again. Okay, Coach Derry, I know that you were kind of hanging around a little bit, the AA boys. You were color man for KCCR in their match against Watertown this morning. I know we showed up early and watched Rapid City Central taking on Brookings, and let's start with that game. Central yesterday had a little bit of trouble finishing the numerous chances that they had.
They did,
but boy, they didn't have any trouble today, did they?
No, they fixed their problems. They put the ball in the back of the net when they had it. They were creative up front. They had guys making off the ball runs. Second and third attackers were doing what they needed to do. Rapid City Central looked good today and put plenty of pressure on Brookings and put some balls in the back of the net to get the W. And it sets up for a great consolation championship match tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And then the second match, Watertown against Pierre, which I dubbed the most dangerous game of the tournament. Well, and it's not that both of those teams they're filled with good young men and hard young men, but they did not come here to play trucks and Barbies. They came here to win a soccer game, and both of those teams are not afraid to put a body on you.
No, and calling the match on KCCR, I constantly and my fellow commentator Dan commented on the physical play, and it was physical. That was hands down the most physical match I saw of the weekend thus far. And Watertown stuck their nose in there every chance they got, and Pierre did as well. And you talk about two teams that are kind of mirror images of each other in the physicality department. They both brought it, and I think Watertown's youth today kind of showed. They got a great group of young guys, and Pierre's senior-led team showed. And I think you had a youth versus an elder team, and it was a good game to watch. 2-1 match, and it'll be fun to see those teams both go forward.
And you mentioned Watertown's youth, and I agree. And they're also they're coached by one of my favorite AA coaches, Jason Bartels. The guy. When we talked at the start of the year, he was kind of like Coach Burkhalter. He's good. We're young, we're going to rebuild. But they came out early and started getting the job done.
Yeah.
So kudos to both those. So we're going to have in the 7th and 8th match, we'll have Watertown taking on Brookings, and then in the 5th match, Pierre against Rapid City Central, which that's going to be a good game.
It is, and it's a rematch of an earlier match this year, which the physical play was. You're going to have another physical match. Rapid City Central and Pierre, they play a lot the same.
So on to the championship bracket, Spearfish Washington. Wow, and I got a chance to talk to both coaches before the match, and they're going, "Oh man, what am I going to do? What are we going to do?" And but. First half, goal fest. That's the only thing you could call it. 6 goals.
And back and forth goals.
Yeah. Spearfish started out early. A goal by Eric Mendez. I think Eric scored the first goal. And then back comes Washington. So the goal was, I think I wrote it down, Mendez 13 minutes. Chance Huber then scored at 16. Chance Huber again at 19. Then Spearfish, I think Josh Burr got that goal. And then their final goal of the half, Leo Rodriguez. But the third goal, Josh Burr had a flying header, which was one of the most beautiful goals of the tournament. So, but that ended up being a 4-3 match, and from what they're telling me, Spearfish had to do everything they could to pull that one out.
Well, they went down to 10 men, had a player sent off, and it was pretty hectic after that, trying to defend with 10 men against a good Washington team.
Well, and you know, one thing you can count on with Jim Hill and his teams, Spearfish, I've coached against Jim for years. He's going to throw everything, the kitchen sink, the hot tub, shower curtains. He's going to throw everything at you. And he did today. I mean, they were throwing every piece of junk out there. And it was, I mean, I was over here commentating the AA girls game, and I'm sure Coach Lamb here noticed me. I kept standing up because I kept hearing the score and kept having to look back to see what was going on. And I was having people texting me, telling me what was going on, and I got to catch a little glimpse of the game. And boy, it just looked like a fun match.
Yeah, it was, and just. You know, some of the best players in the state were on that field. You know, I think you know, Chance Huber has to be one of my favorite strikers for, or one of attacking players. Sometimes they attack him out of the middle, but he's just a big, hard kid who knows how to finish. All those slick kids the Spearfish have. I mean, it was just a perfect setup. So to finish off there in AA boys on the stadium field, Yankton taking on Lincoln, and you know, that was a match that everybody was really looking at because, you know, Lincoln walks in here every year knowing that they're going to win it. They walk in with swagger. They don't
deservedly
care.
so.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have a program there, and but Yankton, boy, this year, I'll tell you what, Coach Brenner has got those guys connected, playing for each other. I mean, it's almost like those guys are in a foxhole together, and they would do anything for each other to win.
You know, they remind me of the old Yankton teams, and you know, I'm gonna refer back in the days, you know, and when you had Riley and Riley Smith and a few of the other guys down there playing. You know, I know when I first started out coaching AA, Yankton was tough. You hated playing Yankton because they played physical, they played for each other. And if you got in the face of one, you got in the face of 10 others.
Yeah.
And that group today showed they play for each other.
And you know,
they definitely wanted to end up in the championship game too. They went out for it.
Yeah, and you know, I didn't get to watch the match. I heard the cheering up there on the scoring and stuff, but the several people that I had looking at that game for me said that was not a 2-0 game. It could have been a 5-0 game. They said Yankton just took care of business every moment of the game.
They were hungry.
They were definitely hungry, and you could see they put Lincoln in an uncomfortable situation. Yeah. And that's what it takes to be a good team. Yeah. Put the other team in an uncomfortable situation, take them out of their comfort zone and challenge them.
Yep.
And that's what Yankton did. And hats off to Coach Brenner and the Yankton boys.
Well, you know, that Washington-Lincoln match tomorrow I think is going to be a good one. If you know, I think both teams will show up. I know my last year coaching at Stevens, we played Washington for 7th place, and you would have thought it was a championship game. You know, those guys, they step on the field and they want to win. So we'll see how Lincoln reacts to this loss today, and then the big game, you know, Yankton Spearfish. Wow, that's going to be a treat because those teams do have they can have very contrasting styles. A lot of flash on the Spearfish side, the workmanlike attitude on Yankton. That's going to be a good game.
It's going to be an awesome game, and I'll even take it a step further. Yankton can show that flash. Don't count out Pacheco up front. Yoshimura Pacheco up front. I mean. They've got some kids who can do some things, but it's going to be blue collar versus the suits.
It could be, and it could be that Spearfish's central defender Blaine Bacon could have a busy day tomorrow. But I guarantee you, the Yankton defenders are going to have a busy day tomorrow. Anybody who takes on Spearfish. And earlier this year, you know, Yankton showed that they really had trouble with Spearfish's style. So we'll see what sort of adjustments Coach Brenner makes.
And Coach Brenner's already made one adjustment for this tournament and dropping his one of his starting center mids back to center back.
Yeah,
you know, Derek Brenner.
Yeah, Derek really looks good there at the defensive role.
Actually, and then today, I mean, he took on Adam Velhaj from Lincoln, who I think is probably one of the best strikers in the state, and played him, you know, man up, which is great. So it's gonna be a fun match.
You know, that was just speaking of Velhaj, you know, that guy is dangerous up top, and you know, you might hold him for 40 minutes, you might hold him for 60, you might even, you know, for 79, but he is gonna eventually get a goal on you just because he works so hard. But Today, and you were talking about Yankton taking Lincoln out of their game. Today, I saw Belhage going way, way back into the field just to get a touch on the ball because Yankton was just smothering everything in the middle.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, let's move on to the class that I've been watching a lot this year, A girls.
A girls.
And geez, everybody beat everybody all year long. And they got a lot of very skilled girls. The coaching there is just incredible. You got Greg Anderson there at West Central, who, that guy he's a program builder. We got a new coach over at Belfouche, Casey Lynch, who I remember back in Spearfish as a little girl. She was one of the toughest little girls I ever knew, and now she's coaching these girls and teaching them out. We look over at Sturgis. They've got great coaching there, and Coach Long. Harrisburg, Katie Keppen, and extremely good coach. So, that's all showing through. So, the first match we're down there watching Harrisburg against Sturgis. We were at the Harrisburg Stadium when Sturgis beat them earlier this year. And Harrisburg didn't like them coming in and doing that there. And so, Harrisburg started strong. They scored a goal fairly early. Sturgis equalized. They played about an hour of just insane soccer. Couldn't get one in. Go to overtime.
Still couldn't get one in.
Yeah. Then go to shootout. And I saw something really brave today. Sturgis' starting keeper, Erica Porter. Clearly all-stater, maybe all-worlder. She really hurt her knee about a month ago. She's been out, and she put a brace on that thing today, and I sat down and came back, and that inspired her team so much. And she finally had to come out because of the pain. They put in a young keeper that just did a great job, but they finally go down to PKs. Harrisburg ends up winning that by 1. But I talked to a couple of the girls who are club mates, and I said, tell me the truth. Were you cheering? Were you cheering for your club mate on the other team when she went up to take her PK? And they all go, yeah, I kind of was. So what great camaraderie through the clubs that these kids, might play in a different high school team, but they're teammates elsewhere.
And the PK shootout was intense. Great. The parents on sidelines, I was standing amongst a bunch of the, right in the middle there between the Harrisburg parents and the Sturgis parents, and boy, those parents were the girls were living off of every kick and every save. The parents were living off of every kick. That's fun to see, and that was 2 evenly matched teams there, and I didn't know anything about the young lady from Sturgis and her knee until I showed up at the game, and even some of the Harrisburg parents made mention of it, and that just shows everyone's paying attention, everyone cares about these kids out there, and hats off to everyone, and hats off to that young lady for getting out there and bracing it up. That takes a tremendous amount of guts.
And she stroked a PK too.
She did.
That right?
Yeah,
she knocked it into the corner.
It was so funny because when I was on my way over to see that game, one of the Lincoln girls came limping up, and she had a bad ankle sprain from yesterday. The trainer goes, "Did you have the doctor look at it?" She said, "Yeah." "Oh, what did he say?" "He told me not to play on it, but I am not listening to him." And so she went in and contributed to her team's win today. So, it's just so great seeing the intestinal fortitude these girls have, and just fantastic. What do you say when it comes down to a 1-shot difference in a PK? That's as good as it gets.
How many, kind of going on that point, how many overtimes and PK shootouts have we seen this tournament?
Well, I don't know, but I've got 3, and I've got the Harrisburg Sturgis one, so we're going to put that on Soccer 605 as soon as I can find enough bandwidth to get it to you folks. Okay.
Well, and to me, I don't know about you, Coach Lamb, but I don't remember a state tournament in my past 10 years, 11 years, or 12 years of seeing this many overtimes and PKs. It's been amazing watching all of them.
Well, we've been talking about the parity. Well, Carol is over there waving at me. We need to wrap it up. So I'm going to talk about West Central Belfouche. West Central, and they play. I watched them in Sioux Falls earlier, and Bell really had their number. They held a fairly deep line. They didn't let because West Central's got those 2 girls, those 2 strikers that they just give you fits every minute of every game. It's just But today, talking to Coach Lynch, she wanted to hold a little higher line and try to go more attack, and that kind of cost them in the first half. At about 20, West Central broke through, and they had several through balls, but they got one in. But they sat down at halftime, kind of reorganized, and you could just see Belfouche taking over the game again. And the second half kind of looked very much like the game in Sioux Falls, where Bell really connected. They held the ball. They played it in the corners like they wanted to, and came out and won 2-1. Very, very happy bunch of girls, I'll tell you. And, one of the things that got me about this game is, the girls were, again, every girl on that field was gassed. But at the end, the amount of people that were there in support of Belle-Fourche was astounding. I don't think I've seen more fans in Rapid City, except maybe for a Central Stevens shootout here in the stadium. I don't think I've ever seen more fans here supporting a team for the tournament. It just blew me away. They just flooded the field after the game.
And I had to enjoy the Belle-Fourche boys in the stands, cheering them on, shirts off, shirts a wagging. I mean, they were getting into the game, and that's fun to see.
So tomorrow we end up, Sturgis is going to be going against West Central. That's going to be a very good match for that third place trophy. And then in the big one, Harrisburg, Belle-Fourche, and who knows? A lot of good players. We're going to have teammates playing each other, club teammates playing each other again.
Let's flip a coin for that one.
Well, yeah, it's just going to be a fun one to watch. So, folks, we can't wait to get with you tomorrow and let you know what happened on Championship Saturday here at the state tournament. Really want to thank you, Coach Lamb, for being with us today.
Pleasure.
Hope you can be here again tomorrow. And, of course, Coach Derry, as always, it's always great sitting here philosophizing with you about soccer. So, thanks again for watching the wrap-up show. We'll see you after the Championship Saturday round. Thanks.